Hello there, this is Yana for W+9 and thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'll show you how to hand stamp beautiful Valentine's Day cards or simple love notes. This card design can also be used for a wedding card or even to create unique wedding invitations. I'm going to be using several W+9 stamps today, and the first one is Fresh Cut Wreath. There's a beautiful heart-shaped wreath included here that works great for any love-themed project. It's nice and elegant with some leaves and flowers and makes up for a stunning floral focal point on a card. I've used this stamp set recently for a different project. I used a round wreath from here to create simple everyday cards. There's a video tutorial available for that project if you'd like to check it out as well. I'm going to stamp several cards today simply because I like to make multiples. When I create multiple cards that feature one design, I can make slight alterations to each card and see what works best and what doesn't work. Because I'm stamping multiple cards, I'm using my Misty today. However, you can stamp these just as well using a clear block. I'm going to start by stamping a heart first, and I arranged it in the center of my panel somewhat closer to the top. Instead of using a traditional green for my leaves, I used gray. Pink, white, and gray is my most favorite color combination for Valentine's Day, so this is the combo I wanted to go with, and I also added a little bit of yellow later on to spice things up. I'm using Silver Lining Pure Color dye ink from W+9 to stamp the leaves, and I'm double stamping them here just in case. You don't have to do this, one impression is more than enough. This wreath consists of 3 layers, or 3 images. There's the leaf layer, and 2 layers with different flowers. Plus, there are additional smaller images to add color and definition to the flowers. I'm using shell pink ink to stamp the 3 smaller flowers here, and I've positioned them perfectly onto the wreath. I love how these flowers seamlessly blend with the leaves. To stamp the second flower cluster, I'm using Hayride ink, and you can go with more intense colors, but I wanted to have a very soft and pastel, almost muted look on my projects. Finally, I'm going to use the second flower layers and will add flower centers to my wreath. I'm using Little Piggy color for my pink flowers and Wild Mango for my yellow flowers. The pink flowers also have an additional 3rd layer, but I skipped it this time. I wanted to add some stamping to the background of my panels, so I used one of the background stamps from the Dockside Backgrounds set, the interlocking rope. And I already have it mounted on the door of my regular size Misty. Again, you don't have to use Misty here, you can stamp this using a clear block, but Misty does make it much easier to align the pattern and make it look seamless. To stamp this image, I decided to use a Fairy Dust Pure Color dye ink. This is a very light gray color. I love using it for shadow stamping and subtle background stamping like this one here. To stamp the pattern onto my background, I'm simply moving the paper inside my Misty and I'm keeping the stamp in place. So I'm not repositioning the stamp, I'm simply repositioning the paper. I'm aligning the paper, making sure the pattern matches nicely. Now I started by stamping 4 panels and I messed one of them up. I dropped a yellow ink pad as I was doing my stamping. So to somewhat try to hide the ink pad mark on my paper, I used Hayride ink to stamp the pattern in the background. It didn't hide it completely, but it did make it less visible in the project. I also wanted to show you how this background pattern would look when stamped in a different color, not just gray. Now, if you're using the same colors of ink as I'm doing here, you can also stamp it in shell pink, so that lighter pink color for a nice and feminine look. To create sentiments for these projects, I used Whimsy Alpha stamp set. This is my current favorite alphabet stamp set. I love how big and playful the letters are. The size of these is ideal for stamping large sentiments. I went with different sentiment for each of my panels and I stamped love, adore, and kisses using Hayride and shell pink colors of ink, so the same colors I used for my flowers. I also had an idea to stamp these love you messages in different languages, but that was a little bit too late for that, so maybe I'll try that some other time. To finish my sentiments, and here you can see all 4 of my stamped panels, I used For You from the Fresh Cut Wreath stamp set. There's also a little handwritten U in there that could work great with these, and also a large, beautiful U from the hand-lettered Thanks stamp set, and I stamped all of these using Silver Lining Pure Color dye ink. So the same ink I used for the leaves. I trimmed my panels down slightly and adhered them onto A2 top folding card bases made out of coal mine cardstock from W+9. I used a white gel pen and added simple white dot details to the centers of my flowers. I also decided it would be a good idea to adhere several clear droplets to add some unexpected detail to each card. By the time I finished my projects, I noticed that the background pattern stamped over the hearts became somewhat visible. In other words, I could see the light gray ink over the dark gray ink. Here's a close-up of the two cards here, where one has a pattern stamped in the background and the other one doesn't. That bothered me a little bit, and I brainstormed some ways to fix this problem. The simplest and the most obvious way would be to first stamp the background pattern and then stamp the heart. So if you would like to recreate this project, be sure to do background stamping first. If you look at the sentiments on these panels, the background pattern doesn't show there because they were stamped after I stamped the background. So stamping the background first and the heart later will eliminate the problem altogether. Because I had already stamped these, I needed a different solution, so I decided to use my Prismacolor pencils and simply color over the sections where the pattern was showing. I picked gray, yellow, and pink pencils that best matched the colors of ink I used for my stamping, and I simply colored over my stamped images. The coloring fixed the problem really well, and now looking at these cards, I can't even tell that I had the background stamped over the heart to begin with. You might be able to see the difference in color in my photos here, but that is only because I upped the contrast on these on my computer. It's pretty much invisible in real life. So this finishes my today's video featuring simple Valentine's Day cards. I hope you like this idea and we'll give it a try. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to check out W+9 for more creative inspiration. I'll see you next time. Bye!